Welcome to Tai Chi. Everybody ready? Let's warm up. Hands at your waist, turn your neck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Stretch your neck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Turn your shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Expand your chest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Waist exercise. 1, 2. Bend at the hips and waist. Turn them slightly to peek at the heel of your opposite foot. Keep your arms closer to your ears, high up into the ceiling. 7, 8, 9, 10. Airplane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Touch toe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Turn your hips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Be careful. Shift your weight to the left foot. Good Tai Chi posture. Kick your right foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Kick your butt. 1, 2, 3. Shift weight. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Turn your knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Heisman, opening up your span, parallel feet. Choose the right side, cross and sit on that side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Cross, shift. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Cross and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, good. Golden cockerel. Dropping those shoulders, tucking your butt, hollowing out your chest, chin slightly down, glance ahead, head straight up. Here we go. Shift weight, golden cockerel on its left, right. Listen to your body. Try to make your connections to your movement exact, so you're pushing down and pulling up. Spinning on your axle, letting gravity keep you safe. Having the confidence, last set. Kicking out. 50-50, shift weight to the left, right hand, right foot coming up and out. Counterbalancing, making sure that back hand counters your movement rather than in a similar position. So you can see that even in balancing, such as kicking out, it can still be a meditative movement. Your mind is active, you're letting your body flow with the center of gravity, holding your ball on a T stance, root down, store that energy, out and to the side, bow the legs, turn the hips and waist, part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, sit down, pivot, drill down on a T stance, out and to the side, L stance, bow the legs, part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, sit down, pivot, drill down, center with a ball, insubstantial steps out, turn the hips and waist, bow stance, bow and arrow. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, center with a ball, out on an L, out and to the side. Here it is. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, T, L. Move that energy, bow stance. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, insubstantial on the right, that can move out to an L to part the wild horse's mane. Listen carefully, sit back, sit down, twist step. How do we brush our knee? Set it up correctly. Multitask, ear, hand, heel, turn the hips and waist. Let your hands go for the ride. Sit back, sit down, pivot, left hand higher, right hand to your shoulder, setting it up correctly on a T. Multitask, turn the hips and waist, fully turn to brush your knee. Sit back, sit down, pivot, right hand higher, left hand to your shoulder, T stance, multitask, turn hips and waist, brush your knee. Sit back, sit down, pivot, left hand higher, right hand to your shoulder, T stance, multitask, to turn your hips and waist to brush your knee. Sit back, sit down. Here are some checks to correct your form. Right hand higher, left hand to your shoulder. Root it down on the right to store the energy. 3 things happen. Ear, hand, and heel. Turn the hips and waist, brush your knee. When you're in this brush knee, final position, the left hand should be at the side of your thigh, as if it were holding a ball from the top, whereas the right hand is towards the middle of your body, as if it were catching a ball. Sit back, sit down, pivot, left hand higher, right hand to your shoulder. Insubstantial foot comes out, as well as the hand to the ear, down, turn the hips and waist. Make sure the right hand is sitting to the side of your thigh, holding a ball from the top. Sit back, sit down, pivot, right hand higher, left hand to your shoulder, T stance, L stance with a multitask, turn the hips and waist for a bow stance to brush your knee. Sit back, sit down, pivot, left hand higher, right hand to your shoulder on a T stance, multitask on an L, turn the hips and waist, brush your knee. Sit back, sit down, pivot one more time, twist step, T stance, L stance, bow stance. Sit back, sit down, pivot, T stance, L stance, turn the hips and waist, bow stance. Sit back, sit down, twist step. Okay, here we go with practicing of repulsing of the monkey. Let's start with commencing form. Good Tai Chi posture, okay? So you're growing taller through your spine, but at the same time, you're dropping the shoulders. So raise your shoulders up and your spine is straight, but your butt is kind of sticking out. So that's not Tai Chi posture. So what do we do to correct it? Drop the shoulders first, relax the knee, the butt comes under. The spine remains soft but straight. The head is as if it were a marionette dangling from a silk thread through the middle of your skull. The head is heavy, but it remains straight as if it were dangling, so the rest of your body is doing the work, but the head remains erect, the chin slightly down. Commencing form. We're at 50-50, shift weight to the right, 60, 70, 80, allowing our left heel to come up, 90 on our toe, open, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 50-50. Hands rotate to the middle of the thighs. Take a deep breath in as we elevate, using our core to elevate. At shoulder level, using our core, flexing our knees, tucking our elbows, push down that water. Left hand remains in the middle. Right hand rises up higher as you glance. Open the palms to the ceiling. Bring the back hand to the ear. Turn your head and neck. Meet the hands in the middle. As you push forward, pull back, making sure the left hand is sitting closer to the hip. Center the right hand, left hand higher. Open the palms to the ceiling. Bring the back hand to the ear. Turn your head and neck. Meet the hands in the middle. Slide forward, push back. Repulsing of the monkey. Center higher, glance, ear, turn, meet, slide to the hips. Center, higher, glance, open, ear, turn, meet, slide to the hips. Center, higher, glance, ear, turn, meet, slide to the hips. Center, higher, glance, ear, turn, meet, slide forward, slide backwards to the hips. Last set. Center, higher, glance, ear, turn, meet, slide forward, slide back. Last one. Ear, turn, meet, slide. T-stance. Together. What are we doing? Brush knee. Ear, hand, heel, turn the hips and waist, brush your knee. Sit back, sit down, pivot, left hand higher, right hand to your shoulder, T, all together, L, brush knee. New movement, sit back, sit down, pivot, hold your ball. In sequence, we part the wild horse's mane. Out and to the side, elbow the legs, turn the hips and waist. Brush, part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, sit down, pivot, drill down T. This is a drill out and to the side. Part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, sit down, pivot, hold your ball, make sure the shoulders are dropped, storing that energy. Step out on an elbow, the legs, turn the hips and waist, part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, T, stance, L, stance, bow stance. Listen carefully, cloud hands. We're in a bow stance. Flip the forward hand, join it with the back hand. We're at 3 o'clock. We want to get out to 9 o'clock. This is how we do it. Bow stance. Sit back, sit down. Pivot that insubstantial foot. We have a stem and a cup at 12. We want to get out to 9. We use our left heel to pivot out, turn the hips and waist, 9 o'clock. 2 things happen. Flip the hands, close the feet. 12 o'clock, stem cup. Shoulders down, 3 o'clock, flip hands. 2 things happen, open the feet. 12 o'clock, stem cup. 9 o'clock, only 1 thing happens because we need to go to the other side. 12 o'clock, stem cup. Use your hips and waist to get to 3. 2 things happen. Flip and close the feet. 12 o'clock, stem cup. 9 o'clock, 2 things happen. 3 o'clock, 1 thing happens, and we turn ourselves into a what? Golden cockerel, okay? Drilling now again on cloud hands. How to get in and out of cloud hands. When we get into cloud hands, we are doing the last parting of the wild horse's mane. How do you do that? You're going to the right, okay? Holding your ball, right foot insubstantial, ready to go. Right hand on the bottom because the bottom hand advances all the time. It could advance forward, it could advance upward, but it advances, okay? So we're holding our ball, root down on the left, T stance. We're going to part the wild horse's mane the final time. Take an L, bottom hand advances to go up the horse's mane. This is the transition to get into cloud hand. Keep your bow stance. Flip the forward hand so you no longer see the palm. Join it with the back hand where you can see the palm. This is 3 o'clock, beginning of cloud hands. We're in a bow stance. We need to what? Sit back, sit down. That's the pattern. We need to pivot on our insubstantial, turn our right hand into a cup. So the left hand is the stem, the right hand is the cup at 12 o'clock. Our job is to get out to 9. Let's think it through. We pivot on our left heel, and there we have 9. But 2 things happen. Flip the hands, close the feet. 12 o'clock, stem cup. Use your hips and waist to turn to the middle extremities. 3 o'clock, 2 things happen. Flip the hands, open the feet. But 9 o'clock this time, only flip the hands because we want to change the orientation of our movement to the right. 3 o'clock, 2 things happen. Flip the hands, close the feet. 9 o'clock, 2 things happen. 3 o'clock, 1 thing happens because we need to get out of cloud hands. 12 o'clock is sort of a stem and a cup, but we change our form to a golden cockerel, okay? All right, one more time, going into the transition of cloud hands, okay? So what did we remember? To get into cloud hands, we have to be doing the last parting of the wild horse's mane to the right. So if we have to go right, our right foot has to be insubstantial, our right hand has to be on the bottom. Therefore, the left hand on the top. Therefore, the left foot should store our energy. T stance, out and to the side, L, bottom hand advances to go up the horse's mane. The hips and waist are fully turned to the right foot, so they're squared with your right foot. You flip the forward hand so you no longer see the palm. The back hand, you join it and you can see the palm. You remain in a bow stance. From a bow stance, you sit back and you sit down. Your twist step would take you to 12 o'clock by merely turning and your right hand to hold your cup 2 inches below your navel. You want to get out to 9, so you use your left heel to pivot. 9 o'clock is there, but 2 things happen. You flip your hands, you close your feet. 12 o'clock, stem cup. 3 o'clock, 2 things happen. Flip the hands first, open the feet. But 9 o'clock, you only do one thing because you want to change the direction. At 3 o'clock, you flip the hands, you close the feet. Here comes 9 o'clock, 2 things happen, flip and open. That's the end of cloud hands. So at 3 o'clock, we only flip the hands. Don't do anything with your feet, but shift your weight to the left and come up as a golden cockerel. Push down, pull up. The other side, shift weight, push down, pull up, down. 50-50, shift weight to the left. Right hand, right foot coming up, kick out right. Shift weight to the right, left, left, up and out. New movement, holding your ball on a T-step, we're going to ward off our opponent. Out and to the side, L stance, bottom hand advances to forearm your opponent. Bow stance. Turn the hips and waist, reposition your hands to bring down or grasp the bird's tail as you sit down on that stool. Turn at the hips and waist to look back. Contact, turn again and push the energy through to the front of your body, center of your body, roll back and sit down. Spiral up and lunge forward. Other side, twist step, T stance. Ward off, L stance, bottom hand advances to push out your opponent. Turn the hips and waist, reposition the hands, grasp the bird's tail. Contact at your wrists, turn at your hips and waist, push the energy through. Separate the hands and roll back and sit down. Spiral up and lunge forward. Here's a drill. Twist step. T stance. L stance. Ward off. Turn the hips and waist. Grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn again, push the energy through, separate, roll back, sit down, spiral up, lunge forward. Sit back, sit down, twist step, T stance, L stance, bottom hand wards off or forearms your opponent. Turn the hips and waist. Grasp the bird's tail. Bring it down closer to you. Contact. Turn again. Push the energy out. Separate and roll back and sit down. Spiral up. Lunge forward. Twist step. T stance. L stance. Ward off. Turn hips and waist. Grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn, push from the middle. Separate, roll back, sit down. spiral up, lunge forward. Sit back, sit down, twist step. Left hand on the bottom, left foot ready to go, holding your ball. Out on an L. Bottom hand, left hand wards off your opponent. Bow stance. Turn hips and waist, reposition hands, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn at the hips and waist, push the energy. Separate, roll back, sit down. Spiral up, lunge forward. Twist step. T stance. Hold your ball. L stance, ward off. Turn hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn again, push, separate, roll back, sit down, spiral up, lunge forward. Sit back, sit down, twist step, left hand on the bottom, T stance. Out on an L, bottom hand advances to forearm, just the back foot, turn the hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn again, push the energy through, separate the energy, roll back, sit down, spiral up, lunge forward. Twist step, T stance. L stance, ward off. Turn hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn again, center, push the energy through. Retract, sit down. Up, forward, twist step. T stance, L stance, ward off. Turn hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn, push, separate, roll back, sit down, spiral up, lunge forward. Sit back, sit down, twist step. Okay, after you hold your ball, you watch me, okay? Hold your ball, pause and rest. Your turn to watch. This is what you try to do. T stance, L stance, ward off. Turn hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn, push, separate, roll back, sit down, spiral up, lunge forward. Twist step, T stance. L stance, ward off. Turn hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn, middle of the body, push, separate, roll back, sit down, spiral up, lunge forward. So this time I'm going to do it. You're still continuing to watch, trying to get pointers. And this is how I'm going to help you with the pointers. You step out on an L, bottom hand advances and moves that energy through your body, through the chest, through the forearm. You're in a bow stance. Turn hips and waist, reposition hands. Reposition hands, they're staggered and they have the grasp of the tail. How do you get back? You sit back and sit down. You sit back and sit down, turn at the hips and waist, contact, turn at the hips and waist. I never move my hands. My hands are connected to my body. The body helps me to move my hands. So the hands are strictly out at a point where the energy finally gets there. But they do not move by moving themselves alone. My core is at work. My mind is active. Therefore, it looks as if Tai Chi, there's something totally different about it. I always use the word mystical, but maybe I'm using it wrong. But it's sort of magical because the power and the energy comes through my core to advance that hand. And I turn my hips and waist and I grasp the bird's tail. Can you imagine this is a gentle meditative motion, but at the same time, hidden in there are strong martial arts intention with the muscles. They're engaged, okay? So can you extrapolate to say that if done at the utmost excellence, that you will then gain stronger core, good muscle toning, and maintain an active mind. So this is what I want to do. I want you to do it with a little bit more definition, a little bit more motivation, okay? T stance. Here we go. Root down, because if you don't root down, there's no energy to expend. T stance, L stance, ward off. Keep your spine straight, keep your Tai Chi posture. Turn your hips and waist, reposition your hands. Pull down by sitting down on that stool, turning at the hips and waist. Contact, turning at the hips and waist, letting the energy flow from the core through the tips, rolling back and sitting down, coming up, and then lunging forward. All of this is your own energy. So if you have to use your own energy, you must store the energy. Where? In that right or back foot in this position. Step out on an L, turn the hips and waist, energy flows through your core to ward off. Think through as you turn your hips and waist, reposition your hand to sit down. Turn at the hips and waist. Contact, turn at the hips and waist, push through. Separate, roll back, sit down. It's the power of the mind driving the core and the hips and waist that are directing your movements. T stance, L stance. Move that energy through your core, through the arm. Turn the hips and waist. Grasp the bird's tail. Sit down, sit back. Contact, turn, push. Separate, roll back. Sit down. Drops you down, pushes you forward and out. Twist step, T stance, L stance. Move the energy through your core, out through the forearm. Turn, reposition, sit down. Turn at the hips and waist. Contact, turn at the hips and waist, push out. Separate, roll back, sit down. Using that energy that's stored when you sit down to come up and out. Twist step, T stance, L stance, forearm. Turn hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Sit down, sit back, turn at the hips and waist. Contact, turn again, push. Separate, roll back, sit down. Spiral up, lunge forward, twist, sit back, sit down, twist, T, L, ward off. Turn hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn again, push the energy through, separate the energy, roll back, sit down, spiral up, lunge forward. Twist step, T stance, L stance, ward off. Turn hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Sit down, sit back, look back. Contact, turn, push, separate, roll back, sit down, spiral up, lunge forward. Twist step, T stance, L stance, ward off. Turn hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Okay, this time we're going to close. I know you're getting tired, but I think the drill is good. Sit down, sit back, up, forward. Okay, how do we close? You're in a bow stance, you push the guy out. Sit back, sit down. Twist hip. Open twist. In twist. Embrace the tiger, right hand on the inside. Shift the weight over. Rotate your hands. Palms are facing your chest. Bring the tiger closer. Push him out. Separate the energy. What do? Drop the shoulders, tuck the elbows, flex the knees. Gravity takes you all back home. Okay, getting better at it. Left foot forward, right foot on 45. You just pushed out the opponent. We're going to close, but apparently first, okay? Sit back, sit down, twist on the left. Open pivot on the right. In pivot on the right. Hands mimic. Shift the weight up. Cross the hands so that the right hand is inside the cross. Shift the weight over. Rotate on the wrist so that the palms are now facing your chest. Push the tiger closer to get that energy to push him out. Separate the hands. Drop the shoulders, tuck the elbows, flex the knees. As you now let gravity take you back home. Okay, one more time. So when we close, it's always on the left, okay? Left foot forward, right foot 45 degrees, and you just got through pushing your opponent out. Sit back, sit down, pivot, pivot, pivot in, embrace the tiger, right hand on the inside, move that foot over, rotate on your wrist so that the palms are now facing you. Right hand is still on the outside. Push out. Separate the hands. Drop the shoulders. Wrap around, up heel, off ground, toe, arch heel. Okay. Tiring. All right. So good. I think that every time I thought that maybe you were good and were able to do grasping of the bird's tail well, I said, oh, maybe there's still somebody who needs another one. So we went through another set. So sometimes I hated to stop because I think over a repetition you learn better, or you're able to get all of the movements in. I wish that, and I think that maybe some of you kind of worded or voiced what the key movements that I use and internalized it so that you could apply it to your own movements, because I won't be there when you practice, okay? But the ideal thing is for you to learn the key words, of course learn the physical movement, and then take that physical movement that you've just learned and alert your mind, this is warding off, this is grasping, or whatever I say, step out, step cross, or whatever. So what I usually would do then is then quiet myself and then let you process those instructions, okay? But I think that I was tired, I think you were tired. How many could go on some more besides Iris? Yeah, you could have gone. Good. All right.
Great effort, all of you. Great effort. Each is progressing in their own way, and it's great. Continue. Perseverance is the key. Not how well you do it when you first start, but it's perseverance and try to develop whatever you have to whatever you're going to be. What I want to do is just go over some of the basics when we do the 10 form. And it applies to a lot of the basics of Tai Chi. You can learn all the different sequences and where the arms and legs go, but there are some basic things that you need to have. One of it is you have to stay in sort of a Tai Chi posture. You cannot come from this position, come out, ward off, and you're out of Tai Chi position. Okay? You don't want to be too far out so that your central power is out in left field somewhere. There is no power when you're out here. It's done. Okay? So, with the grasping the bird's tail, the first movement is ward off. And most of us, by the time we get to this position, we're petered out as far as what the intention of this maneuver is. This maneuver is to say, this is my perimeter wall. You will not get in here, you will not get in here. But when we go out here, we lose the power. So it's from this position, stand out, here. That's about as far, maybe some people can go this high, but this is as far as you can go. Okay? And the feet are flat. Not this way, 1 foot up, 1 foot. Remember, the key to your stability is being flat on the ground most of the time, or at least one leg has to be substantial, and you never see a substantial position on the toes. They are down flat. You may see something like this, insubstantial. Insubstantial can be any old way because there is barely any weight, but everything is stuck here. So you cannot, one here, both feet are down. You don't want to be this way because one, you're out of Tai Chi position, and two, you're even asking for more instability, even though you say, I am substantial here, but you're out of posture as opposed to straight up. Okay? And in the 10 form and in other form, one of the basics is make sure you maintain substantiality. You distinguish between the substantial and the insubstantial, because that's the key. In the 10 form, you're in this position and you spend your time doing this, okay? Substantial, twist form, substantial still, okay? But you're placing your foot in different ways, and in order to allow that to happen in the way you want, you have to keep your substantiality long enough so you can place the foot where you want to do, when you want it. In the 10 form, we do this, and the key is stay here on this side, and then take the time to turn out, away from here, because otherwise you don't make a proper L form. Yeah? This is not a proper L form where you just slot right here. And that's the temptation when you don't say, I got to stay home. You could if you were doing it, but then you would still be doing it in proper substantiality, and you intentionally drop here. What happens then is you transfer your form. That's okay. This is okay. But the minute you try to do this, you're not too stable, and you're not able to deliver your power in a perpendicular position. You need to substantial, stay home substantial, step out and to the back. So you have a proper L form so that when you come out, comes forward, what happens to my shoulder? I can square to that direction. So in that sense, keep substantial until you can place the foot where you want to place it. Okay? And don't go way out here. If you think from a martial arts standpoint, if you're way out here and somebody punches you here, it's a lot longer distance to get from here to here than from here to try to get somebody to block them. So that's the practical aspect. But we're not teaching that. But just as a guideline, all your movements are around this little halo, not farther out here, not out here, just about here, okay? Another thing is peculiar to grasping the bird's tail. Yeah? Step out here. You can turn, you should turn your waist, but you don't have to go way out here. When you go way out here, what happens? Same principle. A guy can attack you from 3/4 and you're in bad trouble, versus you're from here, turn a little bit, and the intention of this maneuver is not to, it's here, form my wall, I'm going to change my hand position, and all I have to do is turn my waist to get, so I can grab the person, grasping the bird's tail. You grab the opponent's wrist, you grab his elbow, and then from there you pull him right down. And you turn and you pull him down using your body, not, you grab, not quite straight arm, but this is coming down a little bit. A lot of it is coming with your body. Okay? Here, turn, push out, come down, but don't lose your power this way. Come down, up. See, you expended the effort to come down. Sit back, right? Sit back. Your power, you're coiled here. So if you go this way, you sort of lose the energy. Here, you're already coiled to just rock it right up. Okay?
So I want to just show you another way of what the points that Ken mentioned. So he sees a lot more going on than I do at this point, but you can see what's happening. 2 feet are on the ground, one forward, 145, which is fine. But what happens? If I follow my, okay, 2 things, okay. One, if I follow my forward hand, I've lost my finger, my backbone, and I've tilted it forward, so I'm going to fall. So how do you rectify that is keep your Tai Chi posture straight up. Knee never went beyond the toe. Once the knee goes beyond the toe, I'm going to fall. Okay, that's one. And then he pointed out something really important, okay? See if you can follow me with really good observation and hearing. When you take an L stance, do not flatten this foot and do not transfer the weight. The energy you did nicely by storing it in the back foot, and you showed me by flexing. This is not storing energy, and I think we've gotten away with it. This is storing it. The energy has to come through the whole system and then out. It cannot. This is an insubstantial, weightless foot. All we're doing is coming out and to the side on an L, but the energy is still here. You cannot flatten this foot because the energy has to come this way and out, then this way. But the reason why I'm going over this is because if you should flatten first and then move, you're going to have knee problems. So how does that work? This is the insubstantial. You keep it insubstantial until the energy grows through your system. If you come out here and then in the process flatten this thing, you're torquing your knee by turning it this way. You want to keep the knee as free as possible, then to transfer and come down. But once you give up that weight and come down, this knee is stressing to come down and turn. So understand that and then just take it simply. That when you're on a T, can you follow me? If when you're on a T, you root it down on the right. The insubstantial is the left foot that has no weight and only foot that can move until the energy comes around and gives it energy. Weightless foot, T stance, L stance, the energy has to travel through the core and then it comes down. Then it sits back, then it twists, it roots down, it takes its turn to store the energy. Right becomes a weightless foot, it comes out on an L, energy transfers through the system, and then it flattens down. So you say, I know that, that's what we've learned. But what happened is that in grasping of the bird's tail, you're now emphasizing what you have to do. You have to ward off, you have to turn, you have to reposition, you have to do this and you have to do that. So what happens? Your feet give way. So go back to the feet work and keep that really, really strict, and then put your upper body to work. Okay, so as you can see, that in an hour's time, there's still stuff to learn, still stuff to know and to correct. But that's the nature of Tai Chi. It's ongoing for all of us, no matter how long we've been doing Tai Chi. I can give you many, many examples, and people in excess of 30, 40, 50 years are still learning. So what does this tell us? It's an ongoing journey. We're learners for life, okay? And with the more we learn, the better we are in gaining benefits. And it's okay for what you have now, but just make sure that you are laying a good platform and building on it, okay? So good job. Okay, see you next time. Happy holidays.